Nobody expected the moment to feel this heavy. For decades, Alan Osmond wasn't just a performer, he was the backbone of a musical legacy. Alan Osmond has tragically passed away at the age of 76, and his family reveals shocking cause of death. And suddenly, fans around the world are asking the same question. What really happened to Alan Osmond? And why is Donny Osmond's tribute leaving so many people emotional? Let's talk about it. Alan Osmond passed away after a long and difficult battle with health complications, most notably related to multiple sclerosis, a condition he had been courageously fighting for years. While the exact immediate cause of death has not always been publicly detailed in full, it's widely understood that his declining health played a major role. But here's what makes his story different. Alan wasn't just someone who suffered in silence. He spoke about his condition, he lived through it publicly, and more importantly, he inspired people through it. At a time when multiple sclerosis was not widely understood, Alan Osmond became a symbol of strength, showing that even when the body weakens, the spirit doesn't have to. And that's exactly why this loss feels so personal. Because people didn't just watch him perform. They watched him endure. Now, as news of his passing spread, tributes began pouring in, but one stood out more than the rest. The words from his brother, Donny Osmond. Because this wasn't just a public statement. It felt like something deeper. Something personal. Something real. Donny described Alan not just as a brother but as a guiding force, someone who carried responsibility from a young age, someone who helped build the foundation that the entire Osmond family stood on. And if you know anything about their journey, you know that's not an exaggeration. Before the fame, before the global recognition, before the screaming fans, there was Alan, organizing, leading, making sure everything stayed together. And even after stepping away from the spotlight due to his illness, his influence never left. Donny's tribute reflected that. He didn't focus on fame. He didn't focus on success. He focused on character, on strength, on the quiet moments that people don't usually see. And that's what made it so powerful. Because sometimes the most emotional tributes aren't the longest ones. They're the most honest ones. But here's something that really stands out. Have you noticed how, when someone like Alan Osmond passes away, people don't just talk about their career? They talk about how they made others feel. And in Alan's case, that feeling was always the same. Respect, admiration, and above all, inspiration. Because even while battling multiple sclerosis, he continued to show up, not always physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. He remained present. And that presence mattered. To his family, to his fans, to everyone who followed his journey. Now, Donny's tribute didn't just remind people of who Alan was. It reminded them of what he represented. Resilience, leadership, and a kind of quiet strength that doesn't always make headlines, but leaves a lasting impact. And that's why so many people are calling his tribute stunning. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Because it came from a place that only a brother could understand. A lifetime of memories. A lifetime of shared experiences. A lifetime that suddenly feels incomplete. And yet somehow still full. Full of everything Alan gave to the world. So when we ask about the cause of death, it's important to understand something. Yes, his health struggles played a role. Yes, multiple sclerosis affected his life deeply. But that's not the full story. Because Alan Osmond was never defined by his illness. He was defined by how he lived with it. And that's a very different thing. Because anyone can be remembered for what they went through. But not everyone is remembered for how they handled it. And Alan, he handled it with strength. With dignity. With purpose. So today, as fans reflect on his life, and as Donny Osmond's tribute continues to resonate across social media, one thing becomes very clear. This isn't just about loss. It's about legacy. It's about a man who stood strong when things were difficult. Who led when others followed. Who inspired without even trying. And who, even in his final chapter, reminded people what true resilience looks like. So if you're watching this and remembering Alan Osmond, whether as a performer, a leader, or simply as a human being who faced life with courage, take a moment. Because stories like this don't just deserve attention. They deserve respect. And maybe that's the most powerful tribute of all. If you want to share your thoughts or your favorite memory of Alan Osmond, leave it below. Because sometimes, remembering is the best way to say goodbye.